Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here in Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from Racing News Now. This is a channel where we discuss lots of motorsports, namely NASCAR, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One. And on today's edition of The Pole Position, we have all of that for you. We have Formula One, we have IndyCar, we have ARCA, and we have all three National Series of NASCAR. All of that was in action this past weekend, so let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll start off with the first race of the weekend. That was the ARCA Racing Series from Pocono, the Mod Space 150. Win number 4 on the season for Zane Smith. Had a great battle there, coming down to the final laps before the rain hit with his teammate Sheldon Creed, who ended up coming home in the second position. It was scheduled to be a 60-lap race. Rain hit at lap 33, and that would be the end of the event. An impressive 4 finish for MDM Motorsports. All 4 of their entries finishing in the top 4 positions, with Chase Purdy and Harrison Burton in 3rd and 4th. Riley Herbst rounds out the top 5. And the rest of your top 10 was Todd Gilliland in the 54 for DGR Crosley this week. Cody Robaugh in 7th. Will Rogers in the 52 for Ken Schrader Racing in 8th. Travis Braden 9th. And Brett Holmes makes his return in the 23 car to round out the top 10. Alright, so now let's get into the NASCAR stuff for the weekend. We will start with the Camping World Truck Series. They were in Pocono this weekend on Saturday afternoon for the 9th annual Gander Outdoors 150. 60 laps from the Pocono Raceway. And Kyle Busch starts off his weekend on the right foot, taking the Truck Series victory over his teammate Eric Jones, substituting in the 18 truck this week for a sick Noah Gragson, who came down with something on Saturday. Not really sure what it was, but came down with something and was not cleared to race by the Infield Care Center. So Eric Jones had to step in last minute and wheeled that truck to an impressive second place finish. Dalton Sargent with a career best finish in 3rd. A fantastic day for him in that number 25 GMS Racing truck. Stuart Friesen and Justin Haley rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Grant Enfinger, Todd Gilliland, Johnny Sauter, Matt Crafton, and an impressive run for front row Joe Nemechek to round out the top 10. Alright, so we'll switch gears from Pocono now to the other race on Saturday. The Xfinity Series was not in Pocono this weekend. They were in Newton, Iowa at the Iowa Speedway for the 10th annual U.S. Cellular 250 presented by the Rasmussen Group. 250 laps was the scheduled distance around this 7/8 mile oval. Ended up going 257 laps, those we went into overtime, and a fantastic finish between Christopher Bell and Justin Allgaier, with Christopher Bell finally coming out on top to pick up the victory, his 3rd straight Xfinity Series victory. He is the first Xfinity Series regular to capture 3 checkered flags in a row since Dale Earnhardt Jr. did it in 1999. So a very impressive feat for Christopher Bell. Justin Allgaier came home in the 2nd position. Kyle Benjamin was in the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing this week. He came home in 3rd. And a very impressive, very strong 4th place finish for Ross Chastain this week. And John Hunter Nemechek rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Elliott Sadler, Ryan Reed, Ryan Truex, Cole Custer, and a solid top 10 run for Chase Briscoe in the 60 car this week for Roush Fenway Racing. Alright, one more NASCAR race for the weekend, and then we'll get into the open wheel stuff. That was yesterday's 45th annual Gander Outdoors 400 from the Pocono Raceway. Scheduled distance of 160 laps around the Tricky Triangle. They ended up going 164 as we went once into overtime, and Kyle Busch ends up picking up the sweep of Pocono on the weekend. Had to outduel his teammate Daniel Suarez there in overtime, but he made it happen. Kyle Busch wins his 49th career Cup Series victory. That ties him for 13th on the all-time wins list with Tony Stewart. Daniel Suarez came home with a strong second place finish. Alex Bowman also with a strong finish there in third. Kevin Harvick and Eric Jones rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 strong runs for the other Hendrick cars of William Byron and Chase Elliott, 6th and 7th. Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, and Denny Hamlin rounded out the top 10. All right, so that will do it for the stock car stuff for the weekend. Now we'll switch gears to the open wheel stuff, and we'll start with the first open wheel race of the weekend. That was the Hungarian Grand Prix, which, if you're here in the U.S., that happened Sunday morning. And Lewis Hamilton picks up yet another victory, continues to extend his points lead there on the Formula One side of things. Didn't extend it by too terribly much, as Sebastian Vettel did finish in second, with his Ferrari teammate Kimi Räikkönen finishing in third, the last guy on the podium. Daniel Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas also finishing in the top 5. Rest of your top 10 in the positions finishing on the points were Pierre Gasly, Kevin Magnussen, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, and Romain Grosjean. Max Verstappen out at lap 5 and finished in the 19th position. Alright, so we have one more open wheel race for the weekend, and that was the IndyCar Series. They were at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course yesterday afternoon for the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. 90 laps around this famous road course in Ohio. Alexander Rossi absolutely dominated on the day, taking the victory. I don't think there was any doubt at any point in that race that he would win it, as he led 66 of the 90 laps in this race. The only other drivers to lead any laps in this race were Robert Wickens with 15 and Will Power with 9. And I don't think coincidentally they finished second and third. Rest of your top 5 were Joseph Newgarden and Scott Dixon. And rounding out the top 10 were Sebastian Bourdais, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Simon Pagenaud, Graham Rahal, and a strong top 10 run for Zach Veach in the 26 car. Alright, so that will do it. That covers everything that happened this weekend from the series that we cover. So that will do it tonight for us on Pole Position. If you want more in-depth recaps of the ARCA race or any of the NASCAR races, you'll want to check out the rewind shows for each of those. We break those down. Even more in-depth race highlights for the Cup race only. Race results for all of them. Post-race interviews. It's Media Center interviews for the NASCAR stuff. We have an exclusive winner interview for the ARCA race, and we usually have that for the ARCA Rewind every week, so you want to go check that out. And of course, point standings following those races as well. So you want to go check those out if you want a more in-depth recap of what happened in those races. We'll have those linked down below in the description, and if you don't want to miss those going forward on any weekend, you'll want to go down below and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Pole Position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.